So, hi guys, how are we doing? So this is a test now on a wet ride, and as you can see in Southport today, it's bleak to say the least. Yeah, it's a bleak day. It's miserable. It's very windy, and it's extremely wet. Let's give the camera a little bit of a wipe, just in case. Yeah, so this is a wet ride, a wet test. So just to show you how the bike performs in the wet, what she's capable of. Also things to look out for while you're riding in the wet, both for riders and for drivers. Thank you. One of the things a lot of drivers are probably not aware of when a motorbike is on the road and is going around corners such as roundabouts like this. See grids like that, we avoid them. Grids are very, very slippery to bikes, and in the advanced training for motorbikes with the police and other organisations, they'll always tell you to avoid grid holes like that, and especially when you're going around corners and stuff. Because as you know, these manhole covers, they're everywhere, they're absolutely everywhere. And in the wet, they're extremely slippery, especially if they've got oil in the mix, with buses going across, and so on and so forth. So if you're a rider, just be aware of that, of riding, and watch out for grids. Try to avoid driving over. Sometimes it can't be helped, you just can't help it. But other times you can't. So avoid the grids like so, because they are extremely slippy for bikers, and for drivers out there who drive that may watch the video. Just be aware, you know, bikers will swerve like so, like that, and it is literally to avoid an obstacle in the road. Now that obstacle might be, took that a bit wide then, didn't I, silly dickhead? A grade or whatever it is. But that's the sort of thing that we're looking for. So yeah, these cobbles, they can be a bit slippy. Be aware of that when you're turning. Other things to look out for, obviously, any spillages on the road, whether it be diesel, oil, fuel, whatever. And obviously you can tell that by the rainbow covered effect on the road. Now most bikers will know this anyway, but for drivers don't pay much attention to it because they're on 4 wheels as opposed to being on 2. Again, the point being is you might suddenly see a rider suddenly swerve, and it's to avoid probably something that you can't see ahead of them. More than likely, particularly in the wet. Road surface spillages, something that's not going to make life too cheery for a biker. So I'm just having a little blat around, deliberately in the wet here now. See what sort of obstacles that we can see on the road. See if there's any surfaces that we can use as an example, and go through it. So it is good to look out for. What we'll also do, we'll do a brake test as well. We'll do a brake test, and we'll go from there. See what it's like handling in the wet. Because obviously it takes a lot longer for all vehicles to slow down in the wet. But for bikes, it's just a little bit more scary, isn't it? When you're braking suddenly in the wet. So as long as you maintain your bike, you look after your bike, you've got decent tyres in your bike, you've got the recommended pressure in the bike pressure in the tyres, that is, and you're aware and you're looking out for it. These are all things that will help minimise the risk of coming off the bike in the wet. I'm getting all fogged up here. Let's wipe the camera. So yeah, so at the moment I can't really see any sort of oil spillages, that sort of thing on the road. But I'm sure you have in the past yourselves when you've either been driving or riding yourself, seen these oil spillages. So just be aware. Why cyclists suddenly move around. You might actually see cyclists do this, swerve a little bit, and they're not being a dickhead, believe it or not. The reason, as well as obstacles, the reason that they're doing it is more than likely they've just started the bike up and they're just trying to warm up the tyres. And that's why you see some bikes suddenly swerving or just giving a little swerve. And they're just trying to warm up the tyres, that's all they're trying to do. Right, we'll go up to the park and ride up here. Let's check over my shoulder here. Nice little car park there for us. We'll try and do an emergency stop in the wet. See, you can lean quite a lot, you know. There's a few cars in here today. Here we go. So there's a lot of puddles and that around here. Be interesting to see. Alright, let's give it a little bit of emergency stop. Okay, so that was an emergency stop in the wet. I'm being a bit lenient for myself in the wet there, just testing it. But the ABS kicks in. I don't feel like I'm losing any kind of control or movement in the bike at all, which is good news. Looks like there's a big puddle through here. I'm just going to test that before I do anything more. Let's have a little ride through that just to see what the situation is there. Obviously you don't want to be riding through deep puddles at speed for obvious reasons. So I'm doing 20 mile an hour there. Let's see how deep this puddle is. Bit of a splash there. Not as deep as it looks, to be fair. Just having a little test here. This stuff as well is lethal. See this stuff that's on the ground, the leaves and things. Obviously when they're wet, wheels can't get the traction that they need. And you know, again, the bike can go from underneath you. So that's why the first time I avoided it. It's just little behaviours like that you need to look out for as a rider. What's on the roads that could potentially make your tyres lose the friction that it needs to stay on the tarmac, and just be aware of it, you know. And that's going to help you keep upright, because we all want to keep upright on a bike. Okay. So again, another lovely emergency stop there. I'm full on the brakes there. ABS does kick in. No issues there. The back end doesn't feel like it's coming out on me at all. And it just flows nicely. Believe it or not, I'm actually building my confidence up as I'm doing this as well. This is more training for myself, but I'm trying to share it with you. And I'm no expert, but the only way I'm going to learn is by getting out there, and by training, and by overcoming my fears, and by riding in the wet, and by braking in the wet. Because so many riders, you know, okay, they go out there and they ride, and you know, they ride in the wet, which is great, but they don't practice things like emergency stops until you bloody well need it. So 1, you break yourself, 2, your adrenaline goes through the roof, and 3, you panic. And that's when you panic, that's when you start making mistakes. So the whole point of this exercise is me riding in the wet, obviously to show you the performance of the bike in the wet and how it performs in the wet, but also the braking in the wet. So yeah, you guys can see what it's like, how the bike behaves in the wet and how it brakes in the wet. But it's also teaching me and giving me more confidence that yeah, at slow speeds I can jam on. I'm going to put my foot down quick, the ABS really kicked in. And also at high speeds, or higher speeds, obviously I can't get too high in this little remote car park, and yet it is stinking wet. Big puddle. Right, skidded through a right big puddle then, or should I say the ABS kicked in, stopped me skidding. But yeah, there was a lovely big puddle there. And then, again, the bike doesn't feel like it wants to move out from under me. It wants to come to a stop, a natural stop where I can comfortably put my feet down, as I am now. And I'm comfortable. Now, come the time, God forbid, I have to ever do an emergency stop, I'm going to feel a lot more confident doing it because I've been practicing. So this is me point out to you guys out there, you know, when you're on your bikes, you know, practice your emergency stops. Practice. Don't just practice in the bright summer's day, like, you know. Practice in all conditions. So, how does she feel? Well, as you can see, I'm moving. She's leaning quite well. I don't feel like she's losing any friction at all. Again, I'm leaning quite well there. Let's try this through the puddle. Bit nervous, but there you go. I mean, as you can see, even through the big puddles, I'm deliberately trying to find the big puddles here. She's moving well. She's moving well. There's no issues. The grip is there. There's plenty of grip. And that just installs confidence. Let's go through this big puddle again. I'm swinging around now. There you go. Doesn't feel like... Oh, pigeon, you nearly had your last friggin' meal there. Took out by a bike. Can you believe that? So, again, I'm just being observant around here and what's around here. This is the back of the lifeboat station here that you see me drive past. You see me drive past the front of this regularly. This is the back of the new lifeboat station that's getting built. Hopefully it'll be up and running soon. It just seems to be taking forever. So, yeah, so marks for being in the wet, stopping in the wet, going through puddles, traction control. This hasn't got traction control, it's got ABS. And it is only a 250 after all, but you know, it's a great bit of kit. And it does give a bit more confidence, and I'm glad I've come out and I've done this in the wet. Because it teaches me as well, you know, just how the bike behaves in the wet. It teaches me what to do, how the bike's going to behave, and give me a bit more confidence that, you know, when I am out on the road, if I do have to do emergency stops in the wet, it's going to be okay. You know, it's quite comfortable. So I'm just looking now. It looks like there could be a bit of... I'm just looking out to see if there's any oil surfaces or anything like that, things to look out for while we're riding. And what I mentioned before about the grids, the manhole covers and oil and such like. So this is why riders should and do avoid manhole covers. So particularly if you're a driver and you see a biker suddenly do that, please don't think they're being a divvy, you know, they're showing off, or look at him swerving, look at him wiggling his bike from left to right, you know, look, you know, doing this sort of thing. There's reasons for it, and the reasons are, like I said, you know, warming up the tyres, or they're avoiding something that you don't possibly see, or you don't see it as a risk, as a danger, whereas a biker sees these things as a potential risk to him riding. So as you can see in lovely Southport, it is absolutely bleak. Let's get the camera a bit up there. It's proper bleak. It's absolutely tiddling it down. It's quite a miserable day, really. Here we go. What's going on here? There you go. Yeah, I'll just just overtake. Yeah, no problem. Good lads. Well done, you. Well done, mate. So learning a rider out on his bike, you know, probably getting a bit of experience. Probably just going to his ma's for a cup of tea, but at least he's on his bike getting a bit of experience. But yeah. So how do I think the V-Stone 250 performs in the wet? Well, I'm more than happy with it. More than happy with it. She rides really well in the wet. It gives you a lot of confidence. Hopefully, through seeing me on the park and ride there, you could see that even going through substantial puddles there, and it was causing a splash up, as it were, there was no issues with it. It was fine. But like I say, I can't give you enough information to get yourselves out there and ride in the wet and practice your braking in the wet and in the dry, you know, all conditions. Just get out there and test yourself, so you know how your bike behaves, because every bike's different. Every bike's different, and everybody rides different. There was an oil patch there on the floor. Alright, let this fella through. There's the Southport Riding School here. Kev, really good instructor. I might do a video on him in the future. Cracking riding school. Absolutely cracking riding school. There's a grid. So things like that, you know, we're looking out for. This driver probably behind me is going, what's he frigging doing swerving like that? You know, and again, it's because of the grids. The grids are so slippy, particularly when they're wet. So, I haven't had a bit of luck here trying to find some kind of spillage on the road, which is good, obviously, but for the purpose of the video, not so cheery. But yeah, we'll go down the roundabout now. And head back down. So usually around big roundabouts like this, you usually get spillages from buses, and they can get quite slippery surfaces on here because of buses going round the roundabouts. And it's not just because of spillages, but it's because of their tyre wear. Buses going round the roundabouts, and it's things to be aware of. You get a lot of, it affects cars as well, very much so. Okay, just watch out for this divvy. Bloody taxi wants to friggin' pull out in front of me. Thinks I should give way for him. So yeah, I hope this video has been helpful in some way, both to riders and... I left my indicator on, didn't I? I'm like a knobhead. I'm too busy talking, that's why. Sorry about that, guys. Please cut me some slack. As I always maintain, I still class myself as a novice rider. I'm still learning. I don't by any means class myself as a super bionic biker. far from it. But I do like to give people tips and experiences and of how I ride, and you know, people do find it helpful. So yeah, like I say, I hope this video has been helpful. Some of the points I've raised. You know, put in the comments any feedback. You know, if there's anything else you want to see on the bike or on riding, by all means just put in comments, and if I can get round and do it for you, I'll do it. Oh, it's a filthy day today. It really is a filthy day. I hope that poor bugger's not on his test. It looks like he could be on the way back to the test centre if he is. Because that timing there of the traffic lights wouldn't have gone in his favour. Poor little bugger. Right, so what are we looking for now? Here we go. See if we can see any oil or diesel on this main strip on Lord Street. I was hoping, you know, because there's a few bus stops along here, there'll be patches of oil or, you know, the rainbow effect to use as an example for you. But we're going left here, quick shoulder check. Here we go, keep the indicator on. Make the turn. And again, avoiding the grids. Another thing behind vehicles like this, you know, if you park too close to them, like this fella's gone right up my tail behind me. Just be, oh, it's gone red again. Just be aware when you're behind certain vehicles like vans and especially R6, that kind of thing. If you can't see their mirrors, they can't see you. It's as simple as that. And you know, if you watch some videos, you'll see, particularly delivery drivers, if you look at some of these delivery drivers, too busy talking again, red light's gone green. If you look at some of these delivery drivers, you know, they stop in the middle of the road or whatever. Half of them are looking for an address and they just shove it into reverse, and the biker's there on his own going, fucking hell, I'm behind you, but the driver doesn't know you're behind him, because if you can't see his mirrors, he can't see you. So it's always good, give yourself plenty of distance behind vehicles like that, particularly if you've got, you know, you're behind delivery drivers. Just be aware of it. Just little tips like that can make the difference between going home and not having a bill on your bike, and going home and being gutted because your bike's off the road because it's having work done to it because some idiots decided to reverse into you. Rain's calmed down a little bit now. Always a bonus. The old camera wipe. Oh, there's an oil patch there. See, it just swerved out the way. I don't know if the camera picks it up really well, but there was a bit of an oil rainbow effect on the, just going up the bridge there. So we'll just quickly moved out the way of that. Again, on roundabouts, I'm looking for grids, I'm looking for oil. There's a grid. Driver. These are the sort of things you want to be looking out for. So yeah, always give yourself plenty of room for the vehicle in front. And that way you can get to see more of what obstacles on the road, because the car might not see it as an obstacle, whereas these grids or potholes are an obstacle to a biker. So it's always worth just hanging back, get that little bit more of a view between you and the vehicle in front and what's in front of you and what the tarmac's like in front of you. Okay, we're going to hook our eyes here. So let's hope this little video is being helpful to new riders and drivers as well, you know, for things to look out for that bikers might do that you might not understand why they do it. And that's why the reasons bikers do what they do, there's always a reason behind it. Yeah, you get the odd one or two that are being, you know, enjoyable on the bike, shall we say. But there's mainly a reason for why bikers are doing things that you deem unsafe or showing off or whatever you want to call it. Alright, so this is Tom, I'm out. Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe, hit the like button and share if you can. I hope this video's been helpful, and have a great day guys. All the best, bye.